This somewhat meaningless new tax change is going to change real estate forever. And I say somewhat meaningless in quotations because the average person in society isn't going to know about this or honestly care about it. But it is significantly important if you're an investor, and specifically if you want to grow your wealth in real estate, which if you're watching this video, I bet that's you and you want to build wealth in real estate. So again, if that is you, you definitely want to hit that subscribe button because it's all we talk about here on this channel is real estate investing and money. So what is this new tax change and how exactly is it going to affect the real estate market? Let's get into it. So this new tax change I'm talking about, of course, is the new capital gains that's happening in Canada and the US. Now, you probably already heard about this. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's making a video about it, but not like this. See, in this video, I'm going to lay out exactly how it's going to affect the market and what you have to do about it. But first things up, Canada just passed a law, a new bill, whatever you want to call it, a policy change, that capital gains will be going up to 66 goddamn percent. I want to swear, but I'm trying to keep my swearing down. 66%. Now, if you're making money, personally, it only affects you over and above $250,000, which might not seem like it's going to affect you. But if you own one rental property, one cottage, or some stocks, and you sell on top of your income you're already making, okay, you're going to be pushed over that limit so easily. Now, Trudeau's talking about how, oh, it's only going to affect 0.1% of the population. What are you talking about? It's going to affect like literally everybody who owns a second property or a cottage. Everybody is going to get reamed by this. And in the US, Biden is following suit and also putting it forward that the capital gains be increased to 44.6%, up from 20%, which it is at right now. That's how we love America. We'll talk about that in a bit. But can you imagine capital gains being 20% as a Canadian? We're used to paying 50%, now 66%. But anyway, it's likely not going to be passed, by the way, in the US. It's just being passed through the House. It's almost like not going to happen to go through the Senate and be passed and actually be implemented as fiscal policy. But in Canada, Trudeau already did it, dude. He's got a majority government. His word is law, and that's already happened. It comes effect June 25th of this year, 2024, 66%. So how exactly is this going to affect the real estate market? Well, obviously, it's going to make it less intriguing to want to be a real estate investor, less desirability to want to be a real estate investor in Canada and America, but specifically Canada. Now, the real killer is Canada's real estate market. As investors, I can vouch for this. I am a Canadian investor who's bought and sold over 150 properties, all in Canada. And now I ain't putting another penny in Canada. We're going full on in the US. And a lot of other big investors are following. They're also going to the US. So what's actually happening here is with the crappy landlord-tenant laws, which has been the primary driver for people like me to not want to invest in Canada anymore, on top of high prices and no cash flow. Those landlord-tenant board rules are insane. This is like the final friggin' cherry on top. The last remaining investors that said like, no, I believe in Canada. You know, you can still make money here, which you can, of course. You can still invest in Canada and make money, but they're making it harder and harder. But this is the cherry on top. For everyone that was on the fence thinking, I don't want to go down to the US and join the party, the bandwagon. It ain't a bandwagon. It's a smart business decision. But anyway, people might have seen it as a bandwagon. Oh, Matt's going down there because it's trendy, whatever. Now, those people are tipping over the fence and they're just running in droves. I see it all the time in the comments, on social media. Everybody's saying, that's it. That was the last straw. I was going to stay in Ontario. I was going to stay in BC, but this is the last straw. Because if you're a smart real estate investor, you're likely incorporated. You're buying your properties as a corporation, and that starts at $0. It's not like the personal side where if you make over and above $250,000, then that's subjected to 66%. No, every dollar you make at zero and over is 66% capital gains on a rental property or an asset for capital gains sold. So how this is really going to affect the housing market is it's going to hurt the very people that this policy was put in to help, right? Trudeau's talking about this. Biden's talking about making it more fair for the middle class person. You know, let's make it more fair. Let's tax the rich. Let's take money from the rich and give it to the middle class and the poor. Okay, again, we always talk about on this channel is unintended consequences. The unintended consequence is, like I said, people are going to leave, no longer invest. That's going to reduce the amount of rental supply. And the rental market, by the way, is the one that's really in trouble here. Yes, obviously the buying housing market is crazy. We have a housing crisis for sure. Nobody's really talking about the rental housing crisis, which is a billion times worse because there's nothing to rent. Nobody wants to be a landlord anymore in Canada and these blue states, specifically in America, California, New York, Chicago, Illinois, like all those areas. Nobody really wants to be investors there because it's too pro-tenant. Now you throw this on, we're going to have less people buy. It's going to lower the amount of rental supply, which is going to increase rental prices. Obviously, when you only have one rental property in the entire neighborhood for rent, what do you think is going to happen when like 40 people want to apply for rent? The landlord's going to be smart and he's going to jack up the rent. And then the next guy's going to catch wind of the comp. It's going to jack the rent every time. That's what happens. That's economics 101. These politicians don't really understand. Of course they do. They don't care about economics 101. They just care about political theater and pleasing and saying what sounds good and saying, I'm going to raise capital gains on the rich and give it to the poor. Yeah, that sounds good. It's going to hurt. Like I said, the people who they're trying to help the most, the lower class, middle class, they're the ones who are going to be hit the hardest. You think rich people like me who invest in real estate give a fuck? You know, like I'd like to stay in Canada and keep investing, sure, but push me around, see what happens. I take my money and I leave. I had a construction business for my flipping company in Canada. I employed 10 people full time between my carpenters, my project manager, my social media guys. 10 people were employed full time. Now they're all gone. And I also had 50 rental properties in one city. Now they're all gone. And I'm not the only one doing this. Don't think it's just one guy. This is happening everywhere. Every big investor I talk to is doing the same thing, liquidating, shutting down their business, firing people, and moving to the US. Money flows like water, baby. It goes to the easiest place. So go ahead, push the doers around, push the entrepreneurs around, push the rich people around. They're just going to leave. Now, the middle class and the lower class, they can't do that. They don't have the resources. They're tied to their job. Most likely, they're not self-employed. They can't work remotely, from wherever in the world. They likely got to stay where they are. They don't have the resources to just pick up and move to Florida or Texas or whatever. Now, to expand on this, what's also going to happen is job losses. Businesses, not just real estate anymore. Now we're just talking about doctors, which we're seeing the pushback from doctors like crazy who are already struggling. They went to school, got all educated, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt to own their own, practice and own their own medical practice. And now that was their retirement. That was their investment. That was their baby. And they were going to sell it when they're, 55 to another up and coming doctor, cash out, retire. Like that's the doctor play. That's the dentist play. That's the lawyer play. Now all these guys are going to be subjected to higher taxes, because they're obviously smart and they're holding these in corporations, right? So they're going to get hit with so much more tax, and they're just not down for it. So we're seeing doctors leave. We're going to see dentists leave. We're going to see other businesses and industries that you can't even think of yet, tech companies, which where I'm from, Kitchener-Waterloo, right, is a huge tech hub for Canada. It's the San Francisco of Canada. You're just throwing water on it now. Like you're just making it less desirable for businesses and entrepreneurs to want to do business in Canada. So we're going to have probably more job losses. Not a big deal. I don't really expect like massive, economic changes in Canada from just this one rule, but nonetheless, it's going to reduce some jobs, it's going to hurt some people, and that's not good. So with all that being said, what do you think is going to happen to the real estate market because of these capital gains changes, if any? Let me know in the comments below. I will respond to every single comment. Again, hit that subscribe button for more. I'll see you in the next video.